DJ.
Second.
DJ said he needs a quick second. All right.
Can you just say something for me?
DJ, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
All right, guys, let me know in the chat if you can hear him. Give me a thumbs up, please. All right,
Testing.
DJ.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. All right, so what do you think about the virgin birth as a Hebrew Israelite?
That is a virgin, which is just a young woman.
Okay.
And she had birth before Christ.
Yeah.
Lord and Savior.
All right. Why do you reject the fact that she was a virgin who conceived Jesus?
Well, just so we don't have a category error, she was a virgin who had Jesus. What we're trying to say is she's just a young woman who's had Jesus. She just had sex with Joseph.
I know.
I'm sorry. Am I allowed to say that?
I know what you're trying. I know what you believe.
Okay.
But when I say virgin, the people that are listening, the Christians, know like what I'm talking about when I say virgin. Right? So okay. So when I'm saying virgin, guys, just to clarify, and let's say I'm clarifying it, I'm talking about a woman who hasn't had relations, right? Cool. DJ and other Hebrew Israelites who take this sort of different argument or reasoning will say, when it says virgin, it's just talking about someone who's a young woman of a marriageable age.
Correct.
Okay.
Alma in Hebrew.
Okay. Cool. Do you understand that Alma can be talking about both?
It can, but there's also another word that's more specific for that one. I go into my notes.
But Betula is the word you're talking about, but you've already agreed with me anyway that Alma can be talking about someone who's a virgin in both categories. So that's all I need. It's fine. Cool.
I do agree that it's a true statement.
Okay. Thank you. So, all right. So how long have you been listening?
Kind of on and off. I kind of have watching my children.
Okay.
But I heard a little bit of your Luke breakdown.
What do you think about that?
It's a timing issue is where I would say.
Okay.
That meeting with the angel with Mary, it just came before Joseph's as seen in Matthew.
Okay. So let's walk through Luke a little bit and let's see what we can get to, yeah? How far we go. Okay, so I started earlier on at verse 26 in chapter 1. Luke chapter 1 verse 26.
I'm just getting Bible.com just so I can walk.
It's cool. So 26 says, and in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth. So if you read in the context, Gabriel has just gone to see John the Baptist's parents. Mm-hmm. Or he's gone to see them. Time's gone now. Obviously, his parents are 6 months pregnant. In that time period, God now sends Gabriel up north to Galilee to meet with Mary. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So, verse 27, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. One of the things I mentioned earlier was that Luke mentions she's a virgin twice here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree that he's trying to emphasize the fact that Mary's a virgin here by mentioning it twice?
Well, no, you're just either way, and I don't mind either one. Virgin here is just a young woman in status because the Alma is like more of a status thing. She's been chased or she's seen good in the community.
Obviously, now I get what you're saying, but two things I'll say. So point number one, mm-hmm. You already said that your view is that it's a timeline. So this is before they've had intercourse, right?
Correct.
So here, this would be talking about someone who hasn't known a man, right?
Correct. I would say this second is not knowing a man. It's both terms.
Okay.
Both terms.
Okay. So you, in that verse, you believe it's mentioning virgin to speak about both. She hasn't known a man and she's also of a young age.
Correct.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. All right. The second point I wanted to mention was, it's gone. What was it? Okay. Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Lord. You keep going back to Alma. Obviously, that's Hebrew. This is written in Greek. So the word here in the original writing of it wasn't Alma. You do Parthenos, right? You do understand it's not written in Hebrew.
Correct, and that still means the same thing. Parthenos is of a status, which is why I still agree with it.
Okay, how does Luke? What? Okay, when it comes to a definition of a word, we obviously have to go based on the context to determine what makes sense in the context, right? For the word. Mm-hmm. Okay, so why in this situation? Why here are you saying fighting more so for? It's talking about someone who's of a maritable age, a young woman, and not necessarily someone who hasn't had intercourse.
Again, one, just because of the word, two, the context, and three, if you want to do the Isaiah, was it 7? That one there, that prophecy, if you're tying that to Jesus. But either one, you don't have to, you pick whichever one.
You said the word, you said context. That's literally what I'm asking you. What in the context of this passage makes you believe it's speaking about just someone who's a maiden and not someone who is untouched?
Do I just want to stick with Luke, or do you want the prophecy beforehand?
So okay. So you're saying because of Isaiah, the prophecy in Isaiah, you link that with this to mean that. Is that what you're saying?
Testing.
Yeah, I can hear you, but you went quiet for a moment. Testing. So, DJ, his connection's looking bad. All right, he dropped. Hopefully he comes back. All right, so you can kind of see, I mentioned this already anyway. Hebrew Israelites, like DJ, come from that perspective that this isn't necessarily just speaking about a untouched woman. It's talking about someone who's a maiden, which also, when you think about it, leans to our point as well. But DJ, you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry about that network connection issue.
Okay, cool. So I was basically asking you, I was saying, so is it because of the Isaiah passage? Is that what you're trying to say? Because of the Isaiah passage, that's why you link it here with this passage to think it's talking about someone who's a young woman and not necessarily untouched?
That adds to it. It more adds to it because, again, I don't see God breaking his word, and I use the context of Old Testament to what's going on in the prophecy. But even with just the context, and you took Isaiah out, there's nothing that says either way, so I'm allowing for both.
How would God be breaking his word? What are you talking about?
Well, just in that, well, no, because I'm really, because you're going to go to the. Are you kidding me?
I'm going to go to what?
Oh, there you go. Awesome. You're going to go into the argument of, is it impossible for God to create a person without
a father?
The two having sex.
Is it possible for God to do that?
It is possible, but he doesn't need to.
And no one said he needed to.
Just like it's possible for him to do it in the way that he's already designed humans.
No one said he needed to do it. But
correct.
If you agree if you agree it's possible for him to do it, mm-hmm. would you have a problem if he did do it that way?
I wouldn't have a problem if he did do that, unless it was, again, to break a prophecy. And from that prophecy, it doesn't need to be.
Okay, so if he could do it, mm-hmm. what prophecy would he be breaking if he did do it that way?
Oh, the prophecy where it's going to come from David's seed.
Mary comes from David's seed, right?
No, you have to show me where Mary comes from David's seed.
Mary doesn't come from David's seed.
Where do you see that? Can you show me where Mary comes from David's seed?
So you don't believe she comes from David's seed?
No, unless you can show me. If you have a scripture, show me.
Okay. You're not familiar with... Okay, so the passage that mentions Mary is one example where... wait, hold on. 27, I believe. 27. So where it mentions that she's a virgin twice, it says... You see how it says, to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. Do you know there's one line of scholarship that says the house of David here that's talking about Mary?
That would be grammatically incorrect for the Greek. because the
How?
direct object of that.
How would it be grammatically incorrect?
Because of the Greek.
I'm asking you how. Tell me how it would be grammatically incorrect.
Because the grammar of it puts the direct object of the adjective onto Joseph in the Greek.
Okay, so whenever it's the direct object, it always would have to refer to Joseph and not Mary, right? That's what you're trying to say.
Well, it depends on how, if that's the direct object of the adjective, yes.
Okay.
So in this case, it would be on Joseph.
Okay. All right, so Luke's family tree in chapter 3 goes back to Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people say, scholars, Christians say that this is Mary's family tree.
If you can show it.
The family tree.
I've seen it.
So
if you can show where it is.
What do I need to show you of the family tree goes back to David? You do agree with that, right?
Correct. And you see the father begat, 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 the father and the mother begat, the father begat, the father begat, the father and the mother begat.
Not Joseph's family tree. Not Mary, not Matthew's family tree, Luke's family tree. It's different.
That's in what Luke 5 or 32, I can't remember. Or not 32. Oh my goodness.
Luke chapter 3. I think it's like 22.
That's why I'm thinking 32. Oh my goodness. All right. So what in here makes you think that this is Mary's family tree?
Because it goes back to Adam, which is a human genealogy.
Again, that's father begat the father, which also has Joseph in here. So again, where do you put that as?
That wouldn't it wouldn't be a problem if Joseph's mentioned, because there's examples of of a family tree where it's based on the female, but the husband is obviously mentioned because they normally go ahead.
And you know that you're an Israelite, always your line always goes through your father, correct?
Not necessarily.
When they named the tribes of Israel, it's about the father. Do you see a tribe of Dinah anywhere?
I'm not disagreeing with the point you're saying. I'm saying it's not always like that.
Well, then you're going outside the culture and you're trying to go outside the context to fit your belief.
Well, obviously, God isn't bound by culture, is he? Is God bound by culture?
If his culture is based on the people, that's kind of a yes and no question.
No, it's not. God isn't bound by culture.
If that's the way that he bounds himself. Again, I'm not going to say yes or no. That's a hard for me to answer.
Okay, so
it can be, because that's
right.
Because the Israelites are trying to live on that culture.
So the family tree in Luke chapter 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before that family tree, in verse 8,
mm-hmm.
It says, John the Baptist is preaching to a bunch of different people, loads of Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, bring forth therefore fruits worthy of repentance, and begin not to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to father. For I say unto you that God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. So, is God able to turn stones into children of Abraham?
Correct. And you know this is through the father.
No, it doesn't say that. It says,
we have Abraham.
It says, God is able of these stones to raise up children unto Abraham. So that's why I asked you, could God change these stones into children of Abraham? You said yes. Who would be making these stones children of Abraham, according to the verse?
God, through the Father.
It doesn't say that. You're adding that to the text.
Up unto children unto Abraham.
The
seed comes through the Father.
He says, don't say we have Abraham to father, because obviously they were trusting in their lineage, their ancestry. So John the Baptist is totally going against that and saying, listen, don't rely on your ancestry. This is the reason why, because God is able to turn stones into children of Abraham. You've already agreed that God can change stones into children of Abraham. The verse doesn't say anything about God. Okay, so that doesn't even make sense. The verse doesn't even say anything about God changing these stones into children of Abraham through a man. How is God going to use a man to change stones into a different lineage? A stone is inanimate. It's not a person. It's not living.
So what's the idiom? Because this is most likely a Jewish idiom, right?
Why would you just go straight to an idiom before a plain reading of the text?
Okay, then please explain. What are the stones?
What are stones? You don't know what stones are?
What is the stones? So God's able to put literal. I know he probably could literal stones.
You know he probably could. Probably. Probably.
Does he have to?
No one says he has to. But what did the verse? But what did the verse say? You can't say God could probably turn stones into children of Abraham. It's either he can or he can't.
He could. Does he have to? And what you're trying to do is put your faith, is what your belief into it, in the same way as I am. We're doing the same thing.
I'm not putting my belief into it. I'm reading it and seeing and explaining what it says. John the Baptist is telling a bunch of Israelites, don't rely on your ancestry, because God, if he wanted to, could turn stones into children of Abraham. Mm-hmm. I don't have to say he probably could do it. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that John the Baptist was a true preacher?
He was, but he also could be using colorful language, just like Jesus did.
Do you believe
he says, "I am the bread"? Was Jesus literally bread? No.
Do you believe? I'm not saying he said he's literally bread. Do you believe that?
I know, but you're doing that with the stone.
Do you believe that?
And again,
hold on. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Do you believe that John the Baptist was filled with the Spirit? Was a Spirit-filled preacher?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? My kids were running back.
Do you believe that John the Baptist was a Spirit-filled preacher?
Yes.
Okay. So I said this to you before, I'll say this to you again. You're accusing me of removing or not thinking about an idiom or anything along those lines. That's not what I ever did. I asked you and I ask you again. Mm-hmm. Why are you and what makes you move away from a plain reading of this passage and go to a metaphor or some other sort of interpretation? Why? You can't just jump and say, oh, I'm not going to take a plain reading of this verse. I'm just going to, it means something else. Why? You have to give a reason and to break it down.
All throughout the Bible, has God used the natural realm to do everything that he needs to do? When he needs something done, he uses a human, correct?
Not always, no. When he created, he didn't need a human to create the world, did he?
What? He didn't have to do what?
As you said, when he wants to get something done, he always uses men or whatever. And I said, no, not necessarily.
I would disagree. I would say he would use Jesus for all of creation.
Well, Jesus, you believe Jesus was a man when he was creating the world?
Even in pre-incarnated, he would use Jesus.
Do you believe Jesus in his pre-incarnate form, whatever that means to you, do you believe he was a man then?
Whatever he was in pre-incarnated, the Father... Give me just one sec, son. That's okay. Sorry about that.
You were saying what? Whatever Jesus...
even in pre-incarnate form, the Father uses an intermediary for everything.
That's not what you said first time, though. The first time, multiple times, you said a man. That's why I asked you specifically, do you believe Jesus was a man in his pre-incarnate form?
He use a man in his pre-incarnated form? No, he would use just another being.
Okay.
But he uses someone. And in this case, in the natural realm, he used a man.
Okay. That's interesting. But again, so Luke 3 verse 8, like I said...
Do you mind if I come right back? My children are running amok. And I'll call right back.
All right, cool.
Is that okay?
Yeah, cool. When you come back, okay, cool. All right. So, guys, like, he said he's going to come back, right? But I want you to understand that he's going to do with his children, right? I want you to understand that it shouldn't be, and I said this to him already, it shouldn't be a situation where you have to say, well, the passage is saying God can turn stones into children of Abraham. It should never be a situation where you turn around and you're like, well, God could probably do that. Like, this is why I said to him, God can either do it or he can't do it. And the only reason why I see that someone would look at this and be like, yeah, God could probably do it, is because it doesn't line up with their theology. Because why do we go to this passage? Because he was saying, look, lineage is only through men. And I said, not always. So I now give him an example in the very same passage we're talking about, which is showing that God doesn't need a man to come before to create a lineage. We should know that from the beginning of the Bible with Adam. God just took, it weren't stones, but it was clay, right? Some people would say it's the same thing, but even if we just differentiate them and say what one is clay and one is stone, even if we say they're different, God took clay and made a man and started a lineage just like that, right? So we should have no problem if we accept the Bible to say God can turn stones into children of Abraham. The only problem someone will have with that is because they need their people to be Israelites. And that sort of passage totally wrecks it. And yes, good point, Zara. Adam was created without a seed as well. Ahmed wants to come in. Okay, but Ahmed, I don't think you are Hebrew Israelite, brother. Let's see. After.
Hey, shalom.
How you doing? You alright? Shalom.
Yeah, good, thank you. How are you, mate? You okay?
I'm blessed. But you're not a Hebrew Israelite, though, are you?
No, but my lineage is ancestral tribe of Levi, so no, but I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. No, why would I be a Hebrew Israelite for?
No, because the reason I'm asking is because that's who I'm speaking to today. You're a Muslim, right?
Okay. Are you a Christian?
Yeah. You're Muslim, right?
Yeah. Are you a Trinitarian Christian?
Yeah. All right. Look, on Wednesday, by God's grace, I'll be doing a stream about Islam. You can call in then, okay?
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah.
All right. God bless, bro.
Thanks.
All right. He probably does think he's some Ishmael. See, notice this, right? This is the typical Hebrew Israelite. Hebrew Israelite makes an argument that says something. You show them something, and then they turn around and say something like, where is it? Show me someone after Adam who was made without a father. Eve? I mentioned Eve earlier. Well, that isn't even the point I was going to make, right? I was just going to say, you show them something and then they automatically, okay, yeah, but like before you run to the next hurdle, deal and actually acknowledge with what's actually being said. That's why I say Hebrew Israelites are spiritually neuralized. Because the truth goes in and then it's like it just gets wiped from their memory and they don't understand what's going on. So instead of a Hebrew Israelite to say, okay, yeah, that's actually a good point from the Christian, they say, oh, forget about that point, show me someone else. Now, when I showed him someone other than Adam, I'm sure he's going to have something else to say. Well, man, Hebrew Israelites, they never cease to they always cease to amaze me. My word's correct. I think he's back. DJ, you back? Give me a thumbs up. You good? Okay, he's back. All right. Cool. All right. So
we were talking about the agency, or did you want to go back to?
Yeah, we're getting into the weeds in it, but
yeah, we kind of.
I feel like personally, it's like you already said, like, yes, God can. You got it out there, and that He could turn the stones into children of Abraham. Okay, let me ask you this. I've just so it's clear, and then we'll go back to Luke chapter 1. Is it possible for you? Is it under your worldview? Is it possible for God to turn stones into children of Abraham without a father that's an Israelite?
If I understand it right, I'll just go ahead and say yes. I believe the Father could do that.
Okay, but obviously you don't believe he did that.
To,
Okay,
it'll
yeah.
still be great.
Okay. Yeah, I don't need him to either, but if the passage says that, then I'm not going to fight against it.
Okay.
All right. So we're at 27, 28. Okay. So the angel Gabriel comes to see Mary. He says things are well with her. He tells her she's going to conceive a child, call his name Jesus. He's going to be great. He's going to be called the Son of the Highest. The Lord shall give unto him his throne, unto his father David. And this is what I was going to ask you before, because I was asking you, why are you admit that, okay, cool. The Hebrew word, the Greek word, both of them can mean a woman who hasn't ever known a man, hasn't been touched by a man. But from your perspective, you lean more in the direction of this is a woman who has been touched by a man.
Not yet. Not in Luke.
Will be touched by a man, sorry. Will be touched by a man, but not yet.
Correct.
Okay. So what I wanted to ask you based on that was, obviously, I mentioned this earlier on, based on verse 34 in Luke chapter 1, where when Mary responds to Gabriel and says, how is all of this going to happen, seeing I know not a man? Wouldn't this contextually now, make it more... Wouldn't it make more sense now that in 27, when Luke is mentioning that she's a virgin twice, is speaking about a virgin who hasn't been touched by a man, based on what she's saying?
Oh, and I'm okay with that at this present time.
Okay, no, but I'm not saying you're not, but people may be a bit confused with your viewpoint based on how you've answered certain stuff. Because,
correct. I would assume anyone who's outside of a culture might be confused with something inside of a culture.
Because it's not necessarily, no, I don't agree with that. Because the reason I'm saying that is because it seems like, I know what you believe, but it seems like with some of the answers you've given, it seems like you are fighting harder for the other alternative virgin definition than the one that most generally would think of when we think of a virgin. That's why I'm taking time with this, just so it's crystal clear for you and for everyone else. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do, but that's what I'm trying to say. That word can mean both. It's not as much. Here, maybe this will help. I would say a person who is older, like let's say when Sarah and Elizabeth had their babies, they aren't virgins, even if they were chaste the whole entire time, or no longer virgins.
Sarah and Elizabeth,
like Sarah with Abraham, and Elizabeth and Zechariah with John the Baptist.
You would consider Sarah a virgin?
No. I would say even if they hadn't had sex through that the whole entire time, once they get to a certain age, they no longer have that flower, and then they're no longer a virgin. That's why virgin, Alma, and both the other one is just a young woman. Whether they had sex or not, is a virgin. Does that help a little bit?
No, not necessarily. Wait, hold on. So, are you saying, let's say, like a 50-year-old woman,
not a virgin?
If she,
even
if she hasn't had intercourse, you wouldn't consider her a virgin?
No.
Okay. Now, this is why I say it's more confusing now, because I know most people listening to this are going to be probably scratching their head like, what?
Okay.
Because obviously the definition of a virgin is the main definition that most people think of a virgin is someone who hasn't had intercourse. So it doesn't matter what age you are, whether you're young, whether you're old, do you know what I'm saying?
In your culture, I agree with that.
I'm not
does that apply to the culture at hand?
Yes, that's not necessarily, no. This is not, that's not necessarily just a modern definition.
That is a modern definition.
It's not just a modern definition.
They had that with older English. They had that with older French under maiden and virgin, birge, birge, which we derived that from. That's where we get, then they would translate that into maiden. It just means a younger person, but you wouldn't use that for an older one. Then they become a madam. So again, that depends on the culture. Again, I understand where you're coming from in your position with that strongness of the word, but that doesn't mean that's what that was back then, and especially within that culture.
Obviously,
and that's where context matters.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. the Greek word, you're saying if in Greek culture,
That's not Greek culture within that part.
the Greek word Parthenos is Greek, bro.
Correct. I agree. The word is
So
Greek.
that's what I'm talking about. If Luke is writing this in Greek, people who understand Greek are reading it, right?
Yes.
So
also in context.
So this is
because
what
I say, even in Greek context.
I get you. That's why I'm asking you. That's what I was literally just about to ask you. So this is what I'm saying. So if you go back to the 1st century, and we were to ask Greek people, we studied, okay, what did the word virgin mean in Greek? You're telling me that Greek people would say a 30-year-old woman who hasn't had relations isn't a virgin, according to that Greek word?
I would actually say it's probably more of the case in Greek because they're more precise in their language. So I would actually say yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
Do you want me just to double check that real quick?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
I'll look into that a bit more after. Okay. So you said at this point she still hasn't known a man, right? Hence, which is obvious since that's what she's saying. Okay. And even the stuff we just talked about anyway about an older age wouldn't really matter anyway because we both agree she's young right here, right?
Yeah. Yes. Oh, I did find the word, but yes.
Okay. Okay. So after verse 34, when Mary asked this question, why doesn't Gabriel say in his response anything to do with Joseph? If this is
telling Mary.
So what difference would that make? We've already been introduced to Joseph in the narrative when we were introduced to Mary in verse 27. So
wait. Where do you get that from?
In verse
a whole different book.
In verse 27, when we're introduced to Mary, we're also introduced to Joseph as well. Right? 27.
Correct.
Virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So we're introduced to both of them already. Both characters, Mary and her betrothed Joseph, that we know who they are in the Gospel of Luke at this point. Right? They're characters, if you want to put it like that. Okay. So when she says, how's this going to be, seeing I know not a man, obviously Joseph is in this world that we're reading about at this point. And Gabriel doesn't mention anything to do with Joseph. He doesn't say, your betrothed Joseph, you and Joseph. He doesn't say anything like that. Why not?
Because you haven't had sex, right?
No.
That's what we're...
No.
I'm misunderstanding your question. Can you say your question?
Okay, so you believe that Mary and Joseph had intercourse at some point after this encounter, right? When she asks, how is this possible? How is this going to happen if I don't know a man? I haven't been with a man. The obvious answer from Gabriel would be your husband or your betrothed Joseph. The two of you are going to have a child. But it doesn't say anything like that. Why not?
But just trying to figure out how it's going to happen.
Yes.
Because they're probably going to figure out, I don't have a baby right now.
No, she obviously knows she doesn't have a baby right now. The whole point of conversation here is about the conception. How am I going to conceive a son if I have not known a man? So Hebrew Israelites want us, like you guys believe that we as Christians don't know what we're talking about. We're adding some mythical virgin birth into it. So I'm saying, based on her asking that question, why would she ask that question, number one? If she's betrothed to a man, which it would kind of be obvious, I'm betrothed to someone, this is who I'm going to spend life with, me and him are going to have a child. But she still asked that question, how is this going to happen? And number two, the angel Gabriel doesn't say, Joseph, you and Joseph, your betrothed, are going to have a child. You're going to conceive because of Joseph. You guys want us to believe that Joseph had intercourse with her, but the angel Gabriel doesn't even say anything along those lines. Why not?
Well, could be a couple things. Could be just her being bashful in this moment. Kind of like where it says, then Mary said unto the angel, how shall this be, seeing that I know not a man?
You said being what? Bashful.
Yes, like bashful, like innocent, chaste. That's what I would expect a young woman to kind of say.
Okay. What else? You said a couple reasons. What are the other reasons?
Again, not knowing that this is a future part, or how deep in the future.
Okay. Is that it, or are there others?
Well, there might be others, but I'm spitballing at this present second. Looking at the scenario, if I saw an angel, if I had a young woman, I don't even know if they were teaching how to have sex in that type of way. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that. My bad. I just know it's like, oh, look, you're just man and woman. Oh, how's that going to be? I don't even know a man. Oh.
Well, I think you I think your own what you just said kind of debunks what you're saying, because she's literally talking about the stuff you're saying. She may not have no understanding about.
Correct, but that still kind of goes within my first one. But I'm okay with not saying the second one. The second one being debunked.
Okay. Hold on. Not thinking too far into the future.
Yeah.
Too far into the future.
Or just being, again, innocent, or not. I don't want to say acting as in faking it, but acting innocent towards the angel. So I would assume if you're seeing something holy, you would want to present yourself as holy and innocent and chaste.
Yeah, but he's the one that brings up the conception.
I agree with that.
So her talking about the conception wouldn't be unholy or anything along those lines. It would be right in line with what he's brought up. Right?
Quick second.
Say that again?
Yeah. I was saying that not the act, but just you're trying to present yourself as maybe more than like, oh no, I'm holy. This is a holy person. Oh, I'm like trying to be innocent. Like, when kids do something wrong, they're trying to show themselves as very innocent and such. Kind of in that manner. You're just like, oh, how can this be? I don't even know a man. I'm pure. Kind of like that.
Okay. Now, okay. So you said the reason she asked the question, even though Joseph's in the picture, and the reason Gabriel didn't mention Joseph is because maybe she's being like innocent and bashful, or maybe she's not thinking too far into the future. Now, I want to ask you something about this passage. It didn't mention Joseph. Gabriel doesn't mention Joseph. You agreed to that already. What does he mention in verse 35?
35. The overshadowing of the Holy Spirit.
Yep. And what else?
Her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore, also that thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God.
Okay. So back to her question: how am I going to know? How is this going to happen? How am I going to conceive this son if I don't know a man? Gabriel doesn't mention Joseph. He mentions the Holy Spirit. He mentions the power of the highest, and because of this, he says, therefore, this one's going to be called the Son of God. Right?
You kind of cut off on me, but I think I got your point. So towards her answer is a kind of, again, it's still kind of prophetic. So just like you would say David, who was born in iniquity, still became king. This kind of then speaks to my point where, hey, we had sex before our ceremony. That's a little bit embarrassing. But even that thing, or the Holy Spirit is still overshadowing that to be that special child, to be the thing called the Son of God.
Okay, so the Holy Ghost came upon her, and the power of the highest overshadowed her when they did something which wasn't right by the Israelite culture.
It wasn't sin, because that's the law still.
I didn't say sin. I said it wasn't right according to the culture.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those proper things. But yes.
Okay. All right. So Joseph isn't mentioned. The Holy Ghost, the power of the highest, is mentioned. Mm-hmm. Okay. If Mary and Joseph are going to have a child, you would agree that hundreds and thousands of people would have children every day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why? Again, going back to her original question, how is this going to be since I don't know a man? After mentioning this first part, he now mentions her cousin Elizabeth, who's also conceived a son in her old age, which was called barren. Would you consider this to be a natural sort of birth or a supernatural sort of birth?
Still natural, because Zachariah and Elizabeth still had a natural means to get through.
If someone is barren, what does that mean?
Well, right now they just can't have kids.
If someone's barren, it means they can't have children, right?
Well, at least every time they've attempted, they can't have child.
Bro, if someone's barren, that means they can't have children, right?
Again, we see this in today's world where people call barren and still have children later on. That just means when they keep attempting and trying and can't have kids. So we call them barren.
So if you're barren, that means you up until that point you can't have children. You haven't had children.
You just never had children, so we consider you barren.
Okay. You would agree that when you get to a certain age, women can't have children anymore, right?
Usually, but we've already seen many cases today.
You said usually.
Usually, that's why we call it barren.
And you said many cases today.
Yes.
Bro, come on, man.
We just had that old woman. We had that old woman from India who was like 60-something, barren, and then had children.
You see the fact you can say we just had that old woman, that Indian who's about 60-something. You do know you're actually telling yourself. You do know that, right? The fact you can mention a particular person and a lot of people know who you're talking about shows the point that this is rare. It's not that common.
I'm not disagreeing that it's not rare. That's not the question that you asked me.
So I don't get why you're saying usually though. Like most of the time, majority of the time, this is the typical thing which happens. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So when it's saying her cousin Elizabeth conceived in her old age, who was barren, how are you now saying this is a natural birth and not supernatural? Just
like it's not supernatural with the Indian woman. I would still give God all the praise because He deserves all the praises.
So if God,
that's still something that's gone through. Maybe I misunderstand. What do you mean by natural?
By natural, I mean without God's intervention. If you get what I'm saying. In Luke chapter 1, we're clearly seeing that God has sent the angel Gabriel on assignment to these different places to like the angel Gabriel says to Zacharias, to John the Baptist's father, your prayer has been heard. You're going to have a son. So the implication is Zacharias has been praying for a son, even though they've been barren, and Gabriel saying to him, God is going to answer your prayer now. So that's supernatural. God is intervening in order for him to have a son, because without God's intervention, they were not having a son. Right?
I don't know. Is it supernatural for you just to have children?
That's
still God, and God still is the one who created us for that.
I believe that obviously God created us. God created the reproductionary way how we have children. Basically, I agree, but God also created us under a natural order that you get to a certain age and then you don't have children anymore. So yes, we understand there are anomalies and rare sightings of stuff, but in this passage,
you call that supernatural real quick? No,
I wouldn't necessarily say it's like, I could, but not in the same way as this, because the reason I'd say it's different is because, as I was going to say, in this passage, like I mentioned, John the Baptist's father is told explicitly from the angel Gabriel that God has heard your prayer. So God is going to answer that prayer. So someone today, if they're not saying something along the lines of, oh, God told me I'm going to have a child and all this different kind of stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? That's why I would say it's a bit different.
Okay, so me and you use naturally different then. When I'm saying natural, I mean the natural process of making a baby.
I believe they came together to have to have the child, but I believe it was obviously because God had intervened. The same, do you know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right.
Okay, so back to the question now. When the angel Gabriel is saying to her, your cousin Elizabeth has conceived in her old age, the one who was called barren, would you agree that this is supernatural? God has intervened in order for this to happen?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. So The second thing he mentioned here also,
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth, has nothing to do with Joseph. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the reason I'm saying this is because obviously Joseph is totally removed from this section of this part here. Joseph had nothing to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we agree that there's a supernatural element to Elizabeth. Thirdly, now, he says, for with God, nothing shall be impossible.
Mm-hmm.
What would be impossible about Joseph and Mary having a child? When
Why
you
do you
just
think
agreed, hold on. When you just agreed and said that men and women have children all the time, what would be? Say that again.
Why are you putting impossible as having child when it could be also that person's going to be known as the Son of God?
What do you mean?
My child is the Son of God? Impossible. I'm a lowly woman. We're just a regular family. That's impossible. Why are you putting impossible as the having child?
Wait.
Why can't? Or
She
where do you put that?
She didn't. When did she say?
No, the angel said it.
No.
Verse 37.
37. The angel says, "For with God, nothing shall be impossible."
Correct.
So that's why I'm asking you, what would be impossible about Joseph and Mary having a child together?
That's not the part that's impossible. The impossible part is that child becoming the Son of God.
What would be impossible about that?
What? That your child is the Son of God? You expect that to come from the king, not a lowly person who's got to run away from Egypt.
What would be impossible about that?
They would have known that at that part. I'm sorry.
What would be impossible? That, like, no, bro. Like, even to the point you're making, David was a shepherd boy. He became king. Hold on. There's so many examples in the Old Testament which totally go against the point you're trying to make now.
That's the point. You just that.
No, it isn't. It isn't the point. Isn't the point?
Do you think a shepherd boy would make it all the way up to king? I would think that's impossible and very unlikely, as you said before with the other example.
Bro, that's the point I just made. Mary has this backdrop. She has all of this stuff in the rearview mirror. So she knows David was a shepherd boy who became the king of Israel. She knows that Abraham and Sarah had a child in later years by God's miraculous power. She has all of that history. So it doesn't hit the same way. It's different. It's different when you have a backload of history which can help you see how God could do something like that. That
supports my point.
How does it support your point?
Me as a normal person, even though that's rare, or you would think that's impossible, you wouldn't expect your child. Would you expect your child to be the Son of God? I would be, whoa, that's my child? Wow, no way.
She did, bro. This is where the problem, because you did this before, you're doing it again. She didn't say it's impossible.
No, the angel did.
So no, but when you keep recounting it, you keep saying, "But my child, like the Son of God," she didn't say that. The only point, bro. The only point she made. The only point.
The angel is saying this.
The only point she made was, "How is this going to happen? Seeing I don't know a man." Her only point of contention is, I haven't been with a man. That's it. Despite the fact she knows she's betrothed to Joseph.
Correct. Read 35 again.
And the angel answered and said unto her, the Holy Ghost is going to come upon you, and the power of the highest will overshadow you. Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of you shall be called the Son of God.
Correct. So we've had points in the Old Testament where people were overshadowed by the Holy Spirit.
Okay.
Correct? So that's known, just like you had said. And there will be this holy thing which should come from you. This is called the Son of God, the Messiah.
Okay.
Which they know about.
Okay.
And there again, now they give an example of just God's power with his things. Like, hey, I just helped your your cousin. What God what the thing that God can do, there is nothing impossible for him. Your child's going to be the Son of God, the Messiah. And that's what I'm saying. All of that is what he's saying.
Bro, I feel like you're stretching this so hard to go against what's obvious.
It's not obvious. That's just your framework, and that's okay.
It's not, bro. It's not like you have to be able to step out of your framework, and for me to step out of my framework, and for us to just read the text.
Correct.
So you don't have to say it's because I'm in my framework. Just by reading the text, this is why I've said that I've asked you the question I've asked you.
Mm-hmm.
Joseph isn't mentioned, which, if what you believe is true, it would make so much sense for Joseph to be mentioned. But it would make so much sense if Joseph is the guy who's going to have intercourse with her to be mentioned, but he's not mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But even though he's not mentioned, you still want to cling to him like, oh yeah, no, he's the dad. When the passage when the passage is doing everything like opposite to show you he's not the dad.
It's not. It's a message to Mary.
Yes.
But that's why we also have other books before that, before Luke was even made. And so again, that message that God gave to that angel to give to Mary is for Mary, not Joseph, for Mary, to tell her that she's going to have the Messiah. I don't have to speak to Joseph. I'm telling you that your child that you're going to have is going to be the Messiah. That's the message, right?
The message, that's part of the message. Right?
And then, yes. And he wants a reminder, hey, with nothing, there's nothing impossible for God, just for confidence sake. It kind of sounds like you're morally reading into your framework.
No.
Your framework out.
I'm focusing on what Mary focused on, because what Mary focuses on is important for us to get understanding of what's happening here. If Gabriel has said all of this stuff, right? He starts. Let's go back. He starts and says, he comes in, introduces himself. She's troubled. He allays her fears. Don't worry. He says, behold, you shall conceive in your womb and bring forth a son and shall call his name Jesus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So after the introduction, the first thing he says to her is, you're going to conceive in your womb. Yep. Right? You're going to have a son. You're going to have a son. Mm-hmm. He tells her more about the nature of this son. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But
what's he say?
He says he's going to be the son of David. He's going to be the coming king, the king they were waiting for in Israel, the Messiah, etc. Right? He says this stuff. But the reason I'm highlighting that he starts with conception is because this goes back to the question she asks him. She doesn't say, how am I going to have the Messiah? She doesn't say, how am I going to have the son of David? Her question is, how is this going to happen seeing I don't know a man? That's her question. So would you agree that Gabriel's response to her is in relation to her question?
Two parts. I mean, there's two answers.
Just say yes or no and then expound.
All right. So say the question.
So would you agree Gabriel's response isn't just like a random response? He's responding based on her question. How is this going to happen seeing I don't know a man?
That can work both ways.
Bro, you said that already. Just say yes or no and then tell me why. So you said no. Okay, tell me why.
Because you, just like you give a letter to someone, you wrote that letter, God knows, oh, she's probably going to have objections. Say this. Again, angels don't usually talk from themselves. They're giving a message from the Father, correct?
Okay.
Okay, let me like a pre-scripted letter where they're talking.
I don't want us to dispute over that, so let's just keep going. Okay. So she asks a particular question, but you believe God is just giving her a random response back and not specifically talking about her question.
Correct, because we know that God's all-knowing, right? So he knows she's going to have objections for it. Or not objections, but just like disbelief.
Yeah, okay.
Every person we've seen within the Bible and God speak has a disbelief, right?
So
Sarah had a disbelief, Elizabeth has a disbelief. So, a lot of people have disbeliefs.
So if God is all-knowing, why couldn't he have prepared Gabriel in advance to respond based on the question she's asking?
I'm agreeing that that's happening. That's why he just gives the response. I
You
don't need to even know what your question is.
how can
I
you
don't
say
need to
you're
know what your
agreeing?
question is.
How can you say you're agreeing
So
with what I'm saying when you said no to the question I asked you?
Okay.
I asked you. Mary asked him a specific question.
Mm-hmm.
How is this going to happen if I don't know a man? She didn't say, how am I going to give birth to the Messiah? How am I going to give birth to the son of David because I come from a lowly place or anything like that? She didn't say anything like that. The thing she's focused on in what Gabriel said was, I'm going to conceive. So she says, how am I going to conceive? How is this going to happen if I have not had relations with a man? So again, my question to you is, you think Gabriel's response is not directly responding to her question about how this conception is going to work, but it's general. It's
Again, no, but I'm okay with either. But no would be my answer because you're asking me one.
okay. And why is it no for you and not yes? Why is it no more than yes for you?
I'm okay with it being yes.
No, I understand you said you're okay with it being yes, but why is it no more than yes? Because you're saying no. So I say yes, and I can tell you why I say yes. You tell me why you're saying no more than you're saying yes.
I can say yes, and it'll be the same answer because it's just responding to disbelief, whatever that disbelief is. Whatever all those questions that you asked. Remember when you said, "How is this? How is this going to be the son of or the king? How is this?" I don't care what your disbelief is. Remember all those ones that you said? It doesn't matter because that answer still replies for it, for any kind of objection that she had. The Holy Spirit is going to come upon you with power and overshadow you, and the thing that's still going to be called the Son of Man. I don't need to explain myself. I'm God. I know you're going to be disbelief. I don't care about your questions. That's going to be the Son of Man.
You think that's how he's responding to her?
Yes, he did that with Job too.
She's not Job.
She's a human. Is she the Most High?
She's not the Most High, but I don't like. It's interesting you're going to Job.
Oh no!
Instead of using Zechariah as a more likely comparison, considering it's in the same chapter and it's a message from the same person.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm responding to your disbelief of God just speaking to Mary like that. Maybe I'm misunderstanding your part.
Okay,
but that's how I'm answering. It's like,
okay, but okay.
I'm God. He can respond like that. That's what he wants.
Okay.
Right.
God can respond however he wants, but
exactly
based on what we're reading here, why would he respond in that way? Like
he can't. That's the answer.
Because this is what I'm trying to get you to realize.
Can he not answer? Could he not answer?
I already said he could answer however he wants to, but God isn't arbitrary. He doesn't just do stuff randomly. So I mentioned this earlier on. Gabriel, when he came to Mary, showed up in the very same way, similar fashion that he showed up with Zechariah previously in the chapter and with Daniel in the book of Daniel. And I was making a point. This is one of the reasons we know that whoever Muhammad saw in the cave wasn't the angel Gabriel, because he did something completely different from everything we know about the angel Gabriel. So the reason I'm bringing that example up is we see consistently how God presents himself in different scenarios. So Mary's been spoken very well of in this particular passage.
So, wait. Time out. The same thing happened with Zechariah when he gave that message.
What same thing happened?
The disbelief.
No, the same thing didn't happen.
Wait, it did.
With Zechariah, the angel muted him and said, "You're not going to speak because you doubted." Nothing like that. Nothing like that happens.
Oh, you're talking about Muslims. No, I'm talking about the Bible. I don't care about Muslims.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Okay. All right, so
the reason 18, the same thing happened.
What?
Verse 18, where it goes, "Where shall I know this? For I'm an old man, and my wife is stricken with old years." It's just disbelief. And then the angel said,
"I'm not going to say it's disbelief in both scenarios because the response was different." So this is why I was mentioning Zechariah was judged with being mute until John the Baptist is born and circumcised, etc.
Wait, whoa. Verse 18, and Zechariah said unto the angel, "Where shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife is stricken in years." Is that not disbelief?
I'm saying to you, what happened with how Zechariah responded and Mary responded. I'm saying they're not the same. The reason I'm saying they're not it was the same is because the way in which the angel Gabriel responded to both of them. You can ask a question out of disbelief. You can ask a question out of just seeking information, right?
Wait, you're doing what you're blaming me now for.
What am I doing?
Where you were like, oh, you're not reading the text exactly how it is.
Bro.
He's asking a question.
Bro, if they ask...
Where shall I know this? For I am an old man and my wife is well stricken after hearing the news.
Okay.
How is this going to happen? Where is this happening?
Okay.
I'm an old man.
Could you ask... I'm not disputing what it says. Listen to what I'm saying. Can you ask the same question for different reasons?
I'll give you just one quick second.
All right. He's not understanding the point I'm making.
Sorry
right?
about that. You're basically asking, can you ask a question?
Can you ask a question? Can you ask the same question for different reasons?
Yes, you can.
Can you ask a question because you're in doubt? And could you ask the same question because not because you're doubting, but because you want insight, you want more information?
You could.
Okay.
That's still doubting. That's why.
No, it's not necessarily doubting, bro. It's not necessarily doubting. It doesn't have to be doubt.
Ooh, excuse me.
It doesn't have to be doubt. And this is why I'm saying there's a difference between what happened with Zechariah and what happened with Mary.
Then then that applies to the same with Mary. She's just trying to get more information.
I know. Who disputed said she's not trying to get more information? No, why would she's asking the question because she wants information?
And God knows that she's still trying to get more information, so just say this. That's our argument right now is why would God get that next question?
No, it's
because he's just trying to let that person know and to get it out the way.
The argument isn't why did God say the next part? The argument is Mary honed in specifically on the conception. How is this going to happen when I don't know a man? The angel Gabriel responds. So we are disputing about the angel Gabriel's response. I believe that his response is a response to her question, which most people would agree with what I'm saying. That just makes sense. You're saying it doesn't have to be like he's not responding to what she's saying. He's just saying stuff.
No, that's slightly off. I'm saying God, with his pre-knowledge, is just moving the ball conversation forward. I know you're going to have questions. I know you're going to have disbelief. Whatever that is, the next thing you're going to say, because it's pre-written for the angel, is then to answer and say, hey, then this person is going to be the Son of God. That's all you be happy. That's going to happen. Let's go. And again, this happens so much in the Bible. With all the prophets. So it's not that is it unnormal?
This is what I was saying to you before, bro. It feels like you are doing so much heavy lifting to get away from what is clear in the passage. It would like, if I asked you a question and you responded to my question, most people who could hear our conversation would agree with me and say, yes, he's responding based on what I just asked him. And it would be linked to what I'm just asking him. But you're fighting tooth and nail for it to disconnect the two situations. She asked a particular question. Why on earth wouldn't his response be in relation to what she just asked him? The same way, and this is even good. So the same way with Zechariah, you mentioned Zechariah, right? Zechariah said, how's this going to happen? Because I'm old. The angel answered and said unto him, I'm Gabriel, I stand in the presence of God, I'm sent unto speak to you and to show you this stuff. And behold, you are going to be dumb and not able to speak unto the day that these things shall be performed, because you believed not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. His response, Gabriel's response to Zechariah, is in relation to what he asked, right? So why would it be any different with Mary?
It's the same. Oh my goodness, we're being a dead horse. And this is our framework. We're doing the same exact thing because the same answers still apply. Would you like to keep going? Because we're kind of at a point where we're just stuck on this frameworks.
You keep saying I'm doing the same thing.
No, I'm saying the same answer still applies.
So,
for both of us.
So God in his infinite knowledge told Gabriel to respond to Zechariah, his question, with something which is relevant to what he asked. But also in God's infinite knowledge, told Gabriel to respond to Mary, not in response to her question, but just to say general stuff.
Yes, for the will of the Father.
All right. Okay.
You know how you know? You know how you know?
All right. Go ahead. Tell us how we know.
Because one, in where was it? Verse 20, he didn't just answer the question, did he? That's what you would expect a normal person to do, right? To answer the question. He said yes with Mary.
How did he not answer the question? How did you not just answer it?
He said, where you just read it in verse 19 and 20. The angel's basically saying, I'm standing here in the presence of God. Behold, thou shalt be dumb and not be able to speak. That has nothing to do with how, as an old man, his wife being stricken answers his question. He just said, you know what? Shut up. This is going to happen. With Mary, he's like, no, this person's going to be great.
No, bro. Listen. You shall be dumb and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because you believe not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their season. The reason the reason why he's saying you're going to be dumb and not able to speak, he says it because all of this response is because he didn't believe. When didn't he believe? Hold on. When didn't he believe? How is this going to happen? Seeing I'm an old age, seeing I'm an old man.
Oh my goodness! What was the question?
I just told you what the question was.
Because he didn't believe. But that's not answering. But you would say God would want to answer his question. He could have just said, I'm going to be the one that does it. He didn't have to do all that other things of making him dumb, or mute. Right? He did what he needed to do with his pre-knowledge to get Zechariah to believe. He skipped all those other pleasantries. And with Mary, that's not needed. That's why I'm saying this conversation right here is going to be immovable, but it's just because it's a bigger framework. It's not going to move anywhere because it's the same thing.
I don't know why you keep talking about framework, bro. This has nothing to do with framework. Do you believe that you can read something in isolation to the framework you hold?
You can. I just don't believe that you're doing it right now.
Do you believe you're doing it?
I don't believe I'm doing it right now. That's what I'm saying. We're not doing what we're supposed to try to do.
Okay. So all I'm going to say is, just because you believe you ain't able to step away from your framework right now, don't say I'm not stepping away from my framework.
The reason why I know that you aren't is because of your questions. But I don't want to go through much to it because I wanted to get through our conversation.
Think about it like this, right? If we're asking, think about it like this. You can read a passage and people can come to different interpretations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So one of the ways you find out and you dig closer to what is the truth is you look at the passage, you ask questions, you think about the context, you look at what's there, you look at what's left out. All of this stuff helps you come to a better conclusion of what you believe. Just because I believe this is teaching a virgin birth and you don't, doesn't mean I'm just looking at this and saying, okay, cool, I believe this. Let me just find stuff that goes with what I believe. I can actually step out of what I believe and actually just look at the text and ask questions from a neutral perspective. Mm-hmm. You should be able to do that too.
I can, but here's a problem. You're starting in the middle of a story. How long is the Bible with everything before that? Are you negating all of that?
My goodness. So you're trying to say now, basically, you can't understand a story here in Luke's gospel because of something else somewhere else.
Sounds like you're taking out context to fit your belief.
So you think you can't come to a conclusion by reading this passage that Mary was a virgin when she conceived?
You can do that with anything.
No. Reasonably, I'm talking about. Not like just making something up. Do you believe someone could read this passage who has no familiarity with the Bible, read through Luke chapter 1 and reasonably come to a conclusion that Luke is presenting her as a virgin when she gives birth to Jesus?
Yeah, and that's isolation without context.
What?
Yes, I agree with you. Someone could. Let me answer your question directly. Yes, someone could with their interpretation, and that could be a bad interpretation because of lack of context. Like reading, like looking in the middle of a movie and be like, oh yeah, that's definitely the killer, and you missed all this context beforehand. Where it's like, no, the killer's the other person.
Okay, what context beforehand do you believe would change what we're talking about here?
With our current conversation, it would be how God talks to everybody.
Okay.
How he can talk. Well, he might just say, be rude and be like, I'm God, I don't need to answer you. He be God, shut up and listen to me, like he did with Jonah and all the other people. So being that context is what we also would know about God in this instance from all the other stories.
Okay.
Because you said that couldn't happen.
What couldn't happen?
That the way that he talked with Mary is different from Joseph, or how he's responding with Zechariah here is different than how he's doing with Mary. Because the ultimate thing is for him, that person, to do the will of the Father.
I didn't say he couldn't speak in that way. I didn't say that.
Well, maybe I misheard. I will take that as my mistake.
But you're still. I don't.
Ask me the question. Yeah. Why did he talk to Zechariah one way and Mary a different way? And I would say that is for the will of the Father to be done because he knows us.
Okay. So do you think it's reasonable to conclude that Gabriel reacted differently to Zechariah and to Mary because of their reactions?
I don't know how to answer because I want to answer that as both yes and no because it's the same answer.
Bro, how can come on, man?
I'm sorry.
Always with Hebrew Israelites, it's yes and no. How does it? Yes. Why does it always have to be yes and no?
Because the answer is the same.
The answer isn't the same.
Whether he's answering directly to what they are saying, no to it's just the emotional thing of getting his will done. It doesn't matter because the answer ultimately will be the same to get his will done.
But okay.
If listening to their words and answering their questions will get his will done, he will answer and listen to his will. If it doesn't, and he just needs them to shut up and listen, he will do it that way. It's yes and no.
Obviously, Gabriel had conversations with both of them, right?
Mm-hmm. Did he mute Mary like he did Zechariah?
No, and that's what the point I'm asking you. I'm saying, is it a reasonable conclusion that the reason Zechariah got a sort of judgment, but Mary didn't, was because they did different things?
Yes, one's believing, it takes more to believe. Is that a good answer for you? Acceptable?
Okay, what takes more to believe? Which one?
I don't even know which one that one. My child being the Messiah or me having an older, I don't know which one's more. They're both impossible to me.
Why?
I don't think my child would have, I saw an angel and they said, one of my sons was going to be president of the United States. I'm like, from my genes? Crazy.
Why?
Again, to me, it's unlikely.
But something being unlikely, unlikely and impossible are different, drastically different.
Correct. Just like it's unlikely to be having a child at the age of 60. That's very unlikely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, you call that supernatural. So my son being president.
Supernatural because God answered his prayer and intervened.
And God answered the prayers of being the same.
And intervened.
This conversation, we're kind of at a standstill because we're saying it's not a thing that it really matters. It's the same thing. We're just saying it with supernatural and God. I agree that it's still God, but it still doesn't mean that person doesn't believe that is unlikely or impossible. That's the word. That's impossible. Would you like to move on to a more point to trying to show your thing, or do you want to still stay on this?
My point is, we could move on. The only reason, one thing I'll say last about this is, it does matter. The reason why it matters is because people get to hear how you come to reason to something in the scripture and how I'm coming to reason to something in the scripture. And that matters. So
it matters more than just the will of God being done.
Pardon?
That matters more than just the story of the will of God being done and the Messiah coming.
I don't understand how that is relevant to what I'm saying. I don't understand. What do you mean?
That's what I'm trying to say. The reasoning in here wouldn't matter, because there's even Jesus was saying, I'm glad I didn't give it to the wise and prudent, and I gave it to babes.
Okay.
Just because you have to reason something doesn't mean nothing to God. Nor should it really matter with faith, right? God could do something very simple and just use something simple, and that's to be great to you, right?
It depends.
It doesn't have to be miraculous.
It
God doing what I'm happy with.
It depends how you view stuff, because
well, actually, that's important. Let me hear this.
No, it does, because you're making, like, you made this contrast, right? You mentioned the pastor where is talking about using the babes and stuff like that, right? But God makes those babes wise, right?
Correct.
So
now, not to sound torn, that's what I would be saying. That's what I would say to you in this instance, because you're looking so much for reason.
Like reason, see, this is the thing that's interesting now. You're looking and speaking out reason as if reason's a bad thing. Reason's not bad.
No, it's not. It's not.
So,
it's not always
stop speaking about it like it's negative. When I'm talking about reason, I'm just talking about the gifts that God has given us naturally to come to conclusions. Like I could swap out reason with wisdom, right? God's what?
Okay. What do you think? All the stories in the Bible, Moses, do you think that would be wise going against the king of Egypt?
Yes.
Most people reason that no. Why would you go against the greatest country in the thing? That's faith.
No.
Faith goes against reason.
No, it doesn't. What are you talking about? Faith, the reason why, if anyone else other than God was on Moses' side, then it wouldn't be wise. It wouldn't be reasonable. But because God is on your side, that is what makes it wise and reasonable to do.
Ooh.
You don't agree with that?
We're saying outside reason. An outside person hearing that would not say that was reason. Go outside, like you said, go outside of the belief system. Would an outside person believe Moses, the going against and destroying all of Egypt?
Do they believe in the supernatural or not? Because obviously that matters.
It doesn't matter.
You don't have to. No, obviously you're saying go out of it. So we can go out of it, but is this person we're now talking about, do they have a bias against the supernatural? In the person, this imaginary person in your example you're trying to bring up here, does that person who's looking at this story of Moses and Pharaoh and saying, okay, cool, like my point is God was greater than Pharaoh. So yes, you put faith in God being greater than Pharaoh in order to make the decisions you're making. But you're like, well, no, it doesn't make sense.
No, but that's what you're doing.
How am I doing that?
You're saying this basically on the opposite end. God has to do something super miraculous for it to happen, and he doesn't.
It has to do something super miraculous for who?
No. You're basically saying you need God to do, not you personally, that God has to do this act in a supernatural way for it to basically be in reason. And it doesn't. Because your whole argument right now is reason. And so I'm saying, okay, for a reason, a lot of things don't make sense. But that's why we have faith for God to do the thing to make it go through. It doesn't make sense. It's unreasonable to sell all of your house and property to go follow Jesus, does it? People would say no.
Why is that unreasonable?
That's what faith comes in that.
Why is that? But think about this though. Why is it unreasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Think about, you read through the gospel accounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
You see, we know all of the stuff Jesus did. He's feeding thousands multiple times. He's doing all this different kind of stuff. He's controlling the weather. He's walking on the sea, doing all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you've heard about all this, like, is it really unreasonable to sell everything you have and to follow him? If you knew about it and heard that he's doing that kind of stuff?
That's if you heard of it. People may not have heard of it.
Many of them heard of a lot of this stuff. That's what it says in the Gospels. That's one of the reasons why they would all come to him.
Correct. A lot of people did do that. Some people just didn't. People just asking questions.
So,
what do you think about this? Because we think you're a good teacher. like, no, you gotta do that. And again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying both exist.
All right. Okay, cool. All right, so we looked at.
So right now, I think we're again over all of that. Did you still want to show me where this is Mary's lineage?
I gave you a couple examples. You obviously didn't accept them, so it's fine.
Okay.
I don't want to like.
Okay.
Keep going. If you know what I'm saying, it's like, especially the family tree. That is like, I believe, a very solid argument. But cool. So, according to you, in Luke, she hasn't known a man up until this point, and it's after this where she obviously now knows Joseph, and then they conceive Jesus.
Correct.
Okay.